All right, so your homework is 7.3 practice 1. You're going to be doing this whole page. Please note, this is not a lot of problems to do, okay? And I will get you started on a few of them, and then the expectation is you finish them. Mrs. Lambert will have the answers, so please check with her to see that you did this correctly, all right? And she has the worked out. She has my answer key. All right, so the first thing is, it's a fraction equals a fraction with a variable. We're just going to do cross multiplying. So for instance, if we take a look at number 2, then when we get to number 2, we will be doing cross products. So let me just find a color here. So I will be taking, for instance, 4 times x minus 2, and then 6, that should equal 6 times x plus 2. Your job now is to solve, so we're just going to clean this up a little bit. We're going to distribute, so distribute the 4 through, and distribute the 6 through. And then from there, I'm going to let you finish. There is one type of x. Your job is just to get x alone. The extraneous solutions, just, jumping back to that step in your notes that talk about domain issues. What would I never pick? I would never pick -2 for the left fraction and 2 for the right fraction. So if you get either of those as an answer, then your answer is considered extraneous. All right, number 4, don't worry about the word problems. So far in baseball practice, you've pitched 47 strokes out of 61. So if you want to see, what your average is, for instance, you would just take that 47 and you would divide it by 61, and you could see, what percentage you're hitting. So the idea now is we're going to solve this equation to find the number of consecutive strikes. So I have to have so that I can raise my strike percentage to 80%. So the 80%, that's where this comes from. And since I'm going to, be pitching more so I can get more strikes, the denominator is going to go up by a certain amount, and then that means the numerator is going to go up by a certain amount. So that's what's happening here. So again, all you're going to do is cross products because you have a fraction equaling a fraction. So you're going to take 80 times 61 plus x, and then that should equal 100 times 47 plus x. And then once we solve for x, we then we know how many consecutive pitches we're going to have to do. So first I'm just going to distribute. So 80 times 61, we're going to get this. And 80x, let me make sure, hold on. 80 times 61. Okay, and then that should be a plus sign, sorry. And then an 80x. And then when I distribute 100 through, I'll get 4700 plus 100x. Again, they're just the same type of x, so you just have to work on getting those x's on the same side. So just a quick reminder, what can't your answer be based on the fraction on the right? You cannot have -61, which isn't going to happen here. All right, the next set, so it's only 3 problems, is you're going to be finding using the least common denominator to solve. So for instance, problem number 9, if you don't see the least common denominator, make your fraction table. I will be erasing this in just a moment. Well, I'll put it over here. So fraction 1, I cannot factor that denominator, so I'll just use x minus 3. Fraction 2 doesn't have a denominator, and fraction 3 would start a new set. So maybe you already saw that your least common denominator will be x minus 3 with the x. So again, first step that I'm going to do is add the opposite. That does not happen here. And then the next thing I'm going to do is factor the denominators and identify my domain, which that's the step I haven't done yet, is step C from your notes. So the first fraction, I can't have 3. And the last fraction, I can't have 0. So anyway, we did step D already. We found our LCD. It's x and x minus 3. So now I just need to take each fraction and multiply it by that LCD. So this first fraction will get x and x minus 3. The second fraction will get x and x minus 3, and so will the third fraction, x and x minus 3. And again, the purpose is, since I'm multiplying all of them by the same thing, I'm just changing the way the equation looks, but it's still worth the same. And the other reason why I'm doing this is so I don't have a denominator, and then it's much easier to solve. So starting with the fraction on the left, you'll see that This x minus 3 will take out this x minus 3, so I'm left with an x and x minus 2. The second one does not have anything to cancel out, so I'll bring the 3x, 3 times x, with the x minus 3. And then my third fraction, these x's will cancel out, so on the other side of the equal sign, I will have 2x with x minus 3. So from there, I need to clean it up, so I'm going to distribute, start with my first set, x squared minus 2x. Go with the second set, 3x squared minus 9x. And then the last set, 2x squared minus 6x. I got more than one type of x, so right now my goal is just going to be to get it all into standard form. So get everything on one side, get it to equal 0. So first, just on the left side, cleaning this up a little bit, I have 4x squared from these two. And then I have negative 11x from these two. And now I'm going to get everything on one side. So I'm going to move the 2x squared to join the 4x squared by subtracting it. And now it's 2x squared. And I'm going to move the 6x over by adding it. So when I do that, I have minus 5x. Okay? And now I'm ready to solve. So I'm going to let you go from here. I have more than one type of x. So you need to factor, and remember, look for a GCF and then go from there. And then when you're done, just check to see that your answer is not considered an extraneous solution. Okay? After this, you'll be going into a practice mile marker, so this shouldn't take you too long. So you do need to be working on that practice mile marker. And you'll pick that up from Mrs. Lambert. And there's just a little video to get you going on that too.